Ciao guys, I'm here. So in this video I'm gonna talk about the DisplayLink wireless adapter for the HTC Vive, made of course by DisplayLink in collaboration with Intel. We had a conversation with Andy Davis, that is Director of Marketing and Sales in DisplayLink itself. But first, thank you so much for watching. If you're new on the channel, feel free to check out all the other videos in the channel, including all the other from E3, and if you like what you see and want to keep updated about VR and tech in general, just click or tap the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. But let's go back in topic and let's see together why this technology is really working so well, spoiler alert of course, and how this technology works. Okay, let's start talking about the conversation we had with Andy Davis, that is Director of Marketing and Sales, as I said before, in DisplayLink, and he was kind enough to answer pretty much every question. I'm gonna tell you, of course, what he wasn't able to answer, and also explain me a little better how this technology works. So, we're using a 60 GHz connection that is not new to the market because TPCast is already using it, but here is used in a more refined way. I'm gonna explain you why. So, what they're aiming to do is substituting pretty much everything in the cable that is connecting the HTC Vive, in this case, with our computer. And through that cable is gonna go cameras, it's gonna go microphone, audio, and of course a lot of resolution. And where the TPCast lack, of course, is that he has to use an external router for like tracking and stuff. The cameras don't work, and with the basic software, so the one that you're gonna buy directly with TPCast without using the Open TPCast software, even the microphone is not gonna work. And that is all solved with their solution that is using the WiGig connection from Intel. And what they're working for actually is not the connection itself, but is the chip that inside the adapter that permit the encoding and decoding that every image, everything, every data that is passing through to make this possible. So as you can see, the wireless adapter, we have two antennas because the 60 GHz connection is particular because it's not like a torch, so something that spread a lot of signal or light in the case of the torch, but it can be more comparable to a laser point where they're gonna aim exactly from where is the antenna and going back to where is the transmitter to make the connection as strong as possible. Of course, like they have two antennas because the person will move around and sometimes it's gonna create an occlusion because the 60 GHz connection is not really able to pass through object. But the good thing is like it's gonna bounce around in the nature, of course, of this frequency signal. And bouncing around, as Andy was explaining, the bandwidth will change, but because in the chip they have an auto scale that is of course dynamic, so they can just change the compression on the fly for the different bandwidth they are receiving to preserve every time the best image quality possible, and of course to make it not even visible to what is the normal customer, like can be me or you or everyone else. For my personal experience, it was perfect. As you can see from the video, I was trying at the end to really cover pretty much everything in the antenna, but I wasn't able to have any kind of artifact, nothing. And we're talking about the E3 floor, where there are a lot of connection going on, so wireless everywhere, Bluetooth, phones, computers, everything. Like if you were opening the list with the wireless, you were going like crazy, and that was open space too, so every kind of connection will able to go through, but there were no interference whatsoever, and everything was working just flawlessly with a perfect latency and perfect experience overall. Also, what he told me about that, they have a lot of headroom for like a future headset, because now the HTC Vive Pro is supported like natively without any problem, and they have headroom for much more resolution, where the 60 GHz connection use 3 different channels. So if they want, they're gonna be able also to open just a new channel and start to share data for another channel too, to have double or triple, of course, the information going through. Now this channel I use right now for multi-user purposes, so you can have like 3 in the same spot where the transmitter is gonna use 3 different channels and transmit to 3 different headsets. And we're talking about that like you're talking about work environment or stuff when you need more headset to work all together, and that is gonna happen without any problem. The transmitter itself has to be in line of sight, of course, because it has to have a visual on the adapter directly on our headset, and that transmitter is connected to the computer through a PCI card and an antenna cable, a coaxial cable that's 2 meters. Seems like they're not gonna be able to go over 2 meters for some reason, but they said that 2 meters aren't enough because the average person is not more than 2 meters anyway, so you're gonna be able to put it up close to the lighthouse and there's not gonna be interference at all, and you're gonna be able to have a good side of view on it. So talking about the hardware, we have the 2 antenna, but the signal is reachable even from the body, so you should cover everything to really have an occlusion for this connection. We have on the front the connection for the regular HTC Vive with the USB cable and the HDMI and the power, and on the back we have the display port for the HTC Vive Pro and a USB port for the battery, because that USB port is not for data or nothing, it's just for the power of the adapter. And the question that came along, of course, seeing that USB port was, there's no data there, but there's an USB Type-C port in the Vive Pro, there's a USB port on the HTC Vive. Are we gonna be able to use, like in the future, like maybe stuff that we connect directly, like I'm talking about the lip motion, or maybe in the future, like an eye tracking for Toby that is connected directly in this USB? Is DisplayLink gonna be able to transmit that signal too? They said that they are aware of that, and of course they're gonna work on it, but now the focus is really about to have the best experience so far for the customer for the regular headset, how they receive it. So with all the connection, tracking, video, audio, and everything else. What about top resolution? They really don't have a top resolution right now. They have a lot of headroom, so they're gonna be able to go over different generation of headsets without any problem. And what about latency? As a number, to be sure, they said that they're not really true, and they're not really able to calculate the number because of the different bandwidth going through, and of course the different compression that they have to give every time, so it kind of levitate every time up and down. But for my personal experience, I can tell you that I didn't find any problem whatsoever in latency. They're aiming to 0, and to me they look very close, because when the TPCast I had some problem, like because I have this out-of-body experience, as I said in the first impression video. With this, everything was just perfect. It was really exactly how if I was using the cable in that moment. I was also asking about the distance that you can cover with this wireless solution, and he actually told me that it's over the distance that the Valve 2.0 tracking covered, that are 15 feet, I believe. So you're gonna be able to go over, and there's not gonna be problem at all for your totally a room scale experience and walking around, of course, without cable. That's why and what you wanna, of course, do. What about future-proof? Of course, if future-proof, they're working on the chip, so this one is gonna be for HTC Vive and Vive Pro. Probably in the future we're gonna see other way to show it, but their technology is completely future-proof. So if tomorrow they have a new headset with triple the resolution of the Vive Pro, they're gonna be able to use the same chip in the same way and give the better experience without any problem, without changing many things, because everything is up to the bandwidth, of course, the encoding and decoding of the signal. And I have to say that everything looks so good, so polished, that really, we are really close to the final step. You don't really a lot of stuff, you just need a PCI card, the transmitter with a coaxial cable, and your receiver. The battery life would be around 2 hours, 2 hours and a half, but you can opt, of course, for bigger batteries without any problem. The battery they were using is a battery that you can find on the HTC store. Probably you can also use different batteries, but there's nothing to share about it because it's all about HTC. And as Andy said, marketing about that is about HTC, so they don't know the price, or maybe they know, but they can't share it because everything is gonna be up to HTC. And this kind of scare me because we know the HTC price policy and stuff, and how they marketed the HTC Vive Pro, I'm kind of scared that this is gonna be very, very expensive and much more than what the TPCast is at $299. That is already a pretty high, steep point to get in a wireless VR, because sometimes you can get, like in Windows Mixed Reality, a cheaper headset instead of just something to just put on top of the headset that you already had to buy in the first place. We have finally a window of release that is gonna be Q3, so that means very, very soon. I can really wait for it.
When are you gonna be back?
Yeah.
Anyway guys, if you liked the video, like. If you didn't like the video, dislike. Let me know in the comment below what you think about it. If you have any other question, I'm really happy to answer that. If I forgot something, please let me know in the comment below so I can tell you everything. Subscribe to the channel for more about VR and tech in general. See you guys in the next video. Ciao!